Hello, everybody. Welcome to Film Family. Today, we're going to be reviewing the third episode of The Mandalorian, or the third chapter, The Sin. And so let's get right into it. And just to let you know, these all have spoilers because it's readily available for everybody. This is definitely a more important episode to the overall plot than the second episode. The second episode was kind of him chilling out and biding time, or the plot was maybe biding time. So there's more time could have spent on the planet, which we don't know if it's Tatooine or not because they never say. I really like this episode. I liked it more than the second one. I didn't like it more than the first one, but I thought it was a really solid episode. And I think Yiddle, the mystery around him keeps growing. The cuteness stays great. It's already at like peak cuteness. Can't grow anymore, but it stays. He's pretty cute. The Mandalorian's getting some good development, and the show's, it's staying on its consistent path, and it's really great.
I agree with what BG said about the episode. Like, I like this episode a lot more than the previous one, but I really like the first episode. And I also really want to say I really love the musical composition in this. The Mandalorian theme song with that boom boom and the way it kind of comes in with the title. It almost has a Tarantino feel to it in the beginning. Maybe not the vibe of the actual show, but just the sound and the title card and how it's in the chapters gives me a very Tarantino vibe. So, and I think that works in perfect with the Western vibe that it's trying to kind of portray. And
like we were saying, the show is so Western in a lot of ways. Even there was a shot from the second episode that I forgot to mention where it shows the holster, from that kind of angle. Yeah.
He's got his
obviously
hand on
straight
it,
out of a Western.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of homages like that. And, I just love the actual landscape of it because a lot of the Western movies have this idea of the frontier and the randomness of the, all of it and what's going to happen, who's going to attack you this day. And The Mandalorian definitely carries that. And Star Wars has always sort of had that. Shady bars is kind of a big part of Star Wars.
Because it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away,
Maybe, yeah. But there's always people, and just looking for it. And so I like that the show always shows how much danger is just everywhere and, every little corner.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I liked this episode a lot. Definitely like the first episode the best so far. Just more sentimental to me in terms of because I don't want to say it gained back my faith in Star Wars, but it really did.
But it gained back my faith.
It had a big hand in. I was praying for something to just do that for me, and it delivered. But I really love this episode, as I said, and I thought it was excellently directed. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the mythology in terms of just you're learning more about the world now in terms of who's who and introductions of new characters. And I just, I know we'll get past to more spoiler things, but I enjoyed this.
I really like this because I think, as BG was saying, how it advances the plot a little bit and it also widens that universe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy because they only give us one or two scenes with the Mandalorians, and I feel like you learn so much, or you can assume that you learn so much based off of these little things and seeing them fight together and all this other stuff.
Their honor code.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I like them showing the Mandalorians because they've done I think one scene per episode. The one thing though is I feel like when you're looking at the structure of a story and you have this straight line of wherever the goal of the episode is, and obviously you have a larger line of the whole show. It's a little weird every time you walk and then pretty much stop at almost a midway point, have this little thing happen, and then you leave. But in this episode, the Mandalorians came in, so that problem was sort of alleviated a little bit. I still think it's weird structurally. It's not a huge deal, but I've always thought it was weird how they just sort of stopped the plot for a little bit. It's like if a movie stops to introduce a side plot, but then actually doesn't integrate the side plot. It's all one little scene, and then the rest of the movie goes straight.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I still think it's a cool thing to watch, and you learn more about its history.
Yeah.
Here's something really cool. I'm pretty sure a lot of people knew that guy was Jon Favreau. I could hear the second I heard it, I was like, oh, that's him. That's his voice, the bigger Mandalorian. However, I found out that he's a Vizsla, related to Pre Vizsla from Clone Wars. The guy who has the Darksaber, the blonde guy.
But how did you find that out?
Well, I read it online that his name was Vizsla, and I was like, oh, wait, Pre Vizsla? And then I do a little more searching, and I find out there's a Jedi named Tar Vizsla, so it's a whole family, the clan Vizsla. So some cool lore there. And the fact that Jon Favreau played Pre Vizsla is also playing this. It's kind of cool.
So then, do you think they'll get the night lightsaber or the night blade? You know what I mean?
The dark saber. I don't know if I see it coming in. I don't know if it needs to from a plot standpoint. But if it did, that would be cool because Clan Vizsla. And if they end up making the Mandalorian related to him, I'm not gonna say. I would. It'd
be a great way to end the season.
It would.
You know what I mean?
Like, but here's the thing.
And the next thing.
I think they've established that he's not from Mandalore, or if he is, he's not from
the Mandalorian we follow.
Yeah. And if he is, he's not from the same part. He might be from like the Concordia moon near Mandalore or something else, but he's not from like the main city that we see in like Clone Wars or some of the warrior areas that they have. I think he went into to the Mandalorians and like learned the warrior culture, but it wasn't like born into it like how a lot of other Mandalorians are.
Yeah.
Because some of them too don't like outsiders in the Mandalorians, but he is an outsider technically.
And I don't know much about this because I was talking to Mark a little bit about it, and we were talking about like the signet and how he was going to get his signet, but he didn't want to accept it because of the honor code and stuff like that. Are there different clans living together? Like, do you know that? Or if there are different Mandalorian clans? Because there are different clans, but is this one clan? You know
I think they like combine into groups, but I don't know if they like live. Again, like I'm not an expert on the Mandalorian stuff, but I don't know if they necessarily are like living together and stuff. I think they stick by clan, but they'll form groups of people in other clans because as you can see in Clone Wars with Death Watch, that's like a whole group. So people from different clans will go in it, and then they have their main leader who's from one clan.
I got
so it's a kind of thing. But there's also people who like again don't support outsiders. Sort of how like some military and militia groups in human history haven't supported outside. So I think that's interesting to look at them.
And then what do you guys think about the way they reveal more about the Mandalorians' obviously traumatic past?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very anti a couple things in Star Wars. Really only 3 things. Slow motion, flashbacks. Slow motion, flashbacks, and like the third one's kind of specific, so I don't feel like I need to break that down. 2 of those things are in Last Jedi, so that's there you go. But I think that them showing flashbacks in a movie like this doesn't like ruffle my feathers. It's like if it's not part of the main saga, I think that stuff should be allowed. But I think there's a respect thing and there's like an establishment thing. Where it's like, well, you have certain things in a Star Wars movie, there's certain things you don't have. And though, like a Wilhelm scream, you always should have. I don't think The Last Jedi has that either. But, so, I think there's traditions that you stick to. But when you get a show that's not necessarily part of this epic Skywalker saga, I'm not going to be mad if they show a flashback for like 2 seconds. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I think flashbacks are a pretty like cheesy way to kind of explain the backstory.
Especially traumatic.
But in this type of story, the main character doesn't talk that much. You know what I mean? And he's a man of very few words. But what I like about this, the use of the flashbacks is the timing. They don't really ever do it throughout the episode. It's actually when they're really just doing the new armor, and it's kind of like as he gets his new armor and upgrades, he's remembering the past and like kind of what shaped him to get there. That's a good point. And I think that's really cool. And then also his new armor is like, wow, it's incredible.
That was really cool.
He came out looking like a boss. Like,
what do you guys? I can only imagine it being hard to act when you can't say something. When you have, it's all in your movements and your expression. But he does such an incredible
even beyond
job.
that, we talk about how hard it is to act with just your eyes. You don't even have that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
mean?
But he's
like,
doing such a great job. Like I really feel like I understand.
Yeah.
I really think he puts a lot of emphasis on his body language, and because of that, there's a certain like respect you see other characters in the show have for him, and that kind of bleeds into us as the viewer and makes us be like, oh well, we have to respect this guy because he's the real deal. So I think that's something cool about Pedro Pascal's performance. And if he ever does take off, he's a solid actor, so I'm sure he'll do a good job without the mask. But I think he's done a really solid job so far with the body language, and it's very Clint Eastwood.
One great example of that for me, how he acts. He was reaching for whatever, the gear that helped him take off, and the way he stopped, and he kind of put it back in his hand, was just hanging there. I really like that. I thought that was a lot. That was a nice touch, I think that.
I appreciate good acting.
Yeah. Also, the super battle droid that we see in the flashback, people are like, "Oh my God, what does that mean?" Because
I was actually going to ask you, what does that mean?
That's from the Clone Wars era. So there's this thing I've been hearing
about. And
so
was that ship that flew over, right?
Which
the
one?
black one that kind of looks like a beetle.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
But there's apparently this thing called the Great Purge, And I'm gonna be honest here, I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of it before, so I don't know if it's
But
something
from
I
the
just didn't
show,
know
it sounds
about.
like the Empire raided Mandalore to
But here's
take
the
all their
thing.
Beskar.
Here's the thing: if it was the Empire, then why was there a super battle droid? There is a solution to that because
Why is that a question? The super battle droid.
well, the super battle droids were the separatists. So once Palpatine took the Empire over and got all the stormtroopers ready, he was like, "Well, deactivate the droids." That was part of his like master plan to Revenge of the Sith. So for him, why would they have a droid? Well, it's as simple as like they could have just been like, "Well, we have these droids that are turned off. Why don't we use them? Because we don't have enough stormtroopers right now." Or it could have been that was just a point where somebody reactivated the droids and destroyed his village that might have had Beskar because it was probably near Mandalore. Whatever it was, I don't know the full story, and will probably be revealed more later. But I definitely think there's something there
Interesting.
with the super battle.
Oh,
and
definitely.
it looks menacing. I like that.
It's really cool to see
From his POV.
a modern take on classic Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
really
it
cool.
looked very menacing. And speaking of POV, I love the Yoda shot at the beginning where it cuts and the camera's showing like him looking around to all the people. It was very much what we're seeing from this baby's eyes, who's like, well, I have no idea what's going on right now. And it's so funny how like this guy who's super cool and very it's quiet but deadly walking around. He just got like a baby next to him.
Yeah. But I also think he broke code from the guild.
Yeah.
But I think he also, I don't know what the code is for Mandalore. Maybe it's conflicting, and that's why he went back to get the baby. Or is he not supposed to care about the baby because it was just a job?
Yeah, it was just a job.
So then if he did that, then I think that maybe that's alluding to him not being an actual Mandalorian, which obviously he is.
Or he could be a
You know what I
Mandalorian who
mean?
doesn't follow the rules.
But that's going to be a
But maybe he
Story
also
point.
feels indebted because he feels he
the
saved
baby
his
saved
life.
his
life.
Yeah, and
There's a lot of things.
That's
That's another way you
higher
can
up
go.
on the hierarchy.
Here's a good question. Will he ever explain it? He doesn't talk.
Does he need to?
Yeah, like maybe his eyes will do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, there's definitely a lot there. I really liked the baby in this episode. He wasn't as present as he was in the second one, but I absolutely love the sequence where he was getting him out. It reminded me of something straight out of a Batman movie. I was like,
when he was getting him out.
when he was like hiding and
taking
his
cover
stormtroopers
and stuff. Yeah.
straight out of it. I want to see that type of scene in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen flashlights on a gun in Star Wars.
Ah.
I've seen flashlights before and headlights and stuff. I've never seen them on a gun, so that was cool. But that sequence was marvelous.
I also think it's really cool how they had I guess, what would you call stormtroopers?
Yeah.
So I like, they're more military in this, if that makes sense. Whereas I feel like in the older ones, they were kind of a joke and maybe like, they were as clunky as the droids,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But in this one, it feels like we're watching some like actual tactical droid or, special ops stuff.
Got it.
This might just be somebody trying to make an excuse for something in Star Wars that doesn't make sense. But the reason maybe the stormtroopers are so horrible at their jobs in the original movies is because they've taken over the whole galaxy and are like, we have no threats at all. Let's stop training. And then literally just give them guns and like, go ahead. And
I heard it was because of the helmets. They can't see.
yeah, but like, who made those helmets? Like, it's a manufacturer. There's a whole logistical thing here where they're providing like stormtrooper outfits, and if all their helmets suck, it's a fundamentally flawed army.
That's probably
It's
what it
destined
is
to
now,
fail.
you know?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I really like that stealth sequence. I think the final one where the Mandalorian showed up was really cool. It reminded me of an episode from the Clone Wars where they're in the Cherry Blossom planet and the Death Watch show up. But I thought just seeing them was really cool. People like
With the big gun.
yeah, people were raving for
Yeah.
that scene.
Oh, they were.
That was
Yeah.
so
You know,
cool,
everybody's
man.
like, Star Wars is back. So
Yeah.
it's just cool to see people carry that energy. You know,
This is the way.
this is the way.
This is the way.
Oh, well,
That was awesome.
Disney, if you're listening, this is the
I
way.
know this is the way. Come on,
Super
Disney. Come on,
excited.
Yeah,
Disney.
and it was really cool. That one shot, even though the CGI was a little shoddy, when he like looks to his right.
Oh, yeah.
the dude's
got
falling,
it.
he's like,
What
I
is it?
got you. It was kind of corny and campy, but I liked it.
Yeah, because also like that's one of the things I had is like, would you really fly with your hands out like
Yeah, yeah,
that?
no.
Would it be
Yeah.
like
It
this?
was- it was
It's
kinda
really
corny.
weird.
I know,
You know,
it was a little weird.
That's Star Wars. Star Wars
Yeah.
has moments of corniness, but because you're invested in it and you love it so much, you're like, all right, it's not that
fine.
corny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not that
big
corny.
of
It's
a
not
deal.
that corny.
You know, it wasn't something I was like, oh, that ruins that. That scene, though, I thought was a little campy for my taste. The music was like a little... However, there have been Star Wars songs that take place during action sequences that are kind of campy from John Williams. So I think that was his intention as the composer to create that vibe and atmosphere of like people saving people and this kind of fanfare comes on. It's like this big thing. So I wasn't mad at that. I personally was just like... I think that scene could have been a little more serious.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. I liked too how he was kind of surveying when he was by himself, like, how am I gonna get out of this?
Yeah.
You know? And it was
Let's not forget about the whistling rockets or the bird whistlers or whatever, those things that he went
Oh yeah,
That was a really cool thing,
yeah,
man.
that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was awesome.
I think too, like they probably, are gonna explore some of his like weapon developments more because his armor's been developing.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna try to upgrade certain things about his blaster and stuff. The one thing is his like rifle. I kind of wish it just shot regular bullets sometimes instead of just disintegrating people all the time. Like it's cool, but sometimes I just want to see a good rifle.
But I think it's special. It's like a special gun because everybody's always scared of it, and that's why he also uses his blaster more.
Because that's like the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I just think overall his attitude in this episode, you can see gets a little more like confident. Because obviously, like he does some brave stuff to take on all those people and the stormtroopers in two different like back to back too. Plus, this is one of like the few Star Wars scenes at night that I think is like great because there aren't very many Star Wars scenes at night.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them take place during the day, and space doesn't count. The darkness of space does not equal
Make
night.
yourself known. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something. But yeah, I think.
Do we even still rate these episodes anymore?
Look at it's like a 9.3.
It's a 10 for me. Like all the episodes are just so good. Right?
Yeah,
Just really
I'm excited to see.
I can't. I gotta be just. I don't remember what I gave the last one, or whatever. But it's like these are just great for me. Like honestly, well, just got a little too excited, but yeah, these are just great for me. Honestly,
Yeah, it really
so you
feels
guys
like
gotta check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, it feels like great Star Wars, and this is actually making me want to rewatch the Mandalorian stuff in
I
Clone
thought you were
Wars.
gonna say
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
But I gotta hold off.
Are you back for the new Star Wars?
Yeah.
Well,
I
we
mean,
have to
it's not the same
rewatch it
thing.
anyways.
Yeah.
No, but does it get you more excited?
For episode 9,
Oh,
I mean,
no. I mean, I haven't seen the other Star Wars, so I gotta watch it.
Prince kind of like I am because they came out with this video actually.
Yeah.
Did you see that
Yeah.
where they're showing the cultural relevance and it. No matter how many Last Jedis ever exist, and I'm sure there will be some in the future, they can never stop making me love Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
You can't stop.
Say.
But yeah, and this show is a great indicator. I just watch it, and every time I just feel like excited. And most movies or shows can't do that for me. So I'm just grateful to be able to just get excited every time I watch something. Yeah. And I think there's very few things this show can do to ruin itself. I'm not saying there's none. Everything can be ruined, but I think that the writers are smarter than that.
Cool.
Don't do a bad ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna do more seasons too. So.
And I think the director is in charge of the Obi-Wan one.
Yeah.
She's the showrunner.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and she did an amazing job. So
Great job to her. Yeah.
Now I feel Obi-Wan's in good hands because if she can deliver on that,
Yeah, and I think too that show will benefit highly from a Western vibe. I think that show should
But
be
now,
like
do you think that they're just going to keep doing
Western.
not westerns, but these types of installments where we follow a specific character in the Star Wars universe?
I don't think
and
so.
that's how we learn more and more through different seasons. You know what I mean? Kind of like how American Horror Story is a scary story, but it's different characters and different stuff. Every
No,
season.
I mean I think it'll be like different shows will just follow different storylines. Like there will probably be some that are more adult oriented, some that are more kid oriented, and then like shows through different eras. So hopefully as time goes on and people are more confident in Disney, they will be more confident.
Let's get a
themselves
Kit Fisto
to
show, man. That would be crazy.
That would be good. But they get more confidence to explore the prequel era, which it seems that Disney's like against, even though even people who don't like the prequels agree. It's a great timeline and just period in Star Wars history. Plus you got the Old Republic, post Return of the Jedi, which is technically an infinite timeline because time doesn't end. And so you could literally be like 1,000 years in the future after Return of the Jedi, where none of this exists and none of the stuff you even know, but it's still Star Wars and the Force is still there. They could do an infinite number of things. And the show is great. And if you saw this episode, let us know what you thought. Where does it rank among the other episodes? And like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.